Hello everyone, welcome to another Java for Testers tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to learn another very important concept in Java, which is inheritance in Java. So inheritance is very widely used in your automation, Selenium automation, and even if you're becoming a Java developer or doing the Java development work, this is very widely used concept and very frequently used. Now, understanding inheritance is has always been a challenge for many people who are trying to learn Java from basics and then use it for the Selenium automation. So I'll try to simplify as much as I can with the real scenarios and the examples. So first thing is to understand what exactly is inheritance and then what are the types of inheritance. So I'll start from the types of inheritance that are supported in Java because this is important in terms of interviews that you will be facing through. So if we look at the slide, you will see that the types of inheritance in Java are basically 5 types of single, multi-level, hierarchical, multiple, and hybrid. Now these inheritance, so whatever types are available here at the class level, we are only able to do single, multi-level, and hierarchical inheritance. Now, when we talk about the other, which is multiple and hybrid inheritance, then it is available only at the interface level. So along with these 3 levels, which are available for the class level, at the interface level, you can do multiple and hybrid inheritance as well. From the automation testers perspective, multiple and hybrid I won't be covering because this is not required as such for you to do your automation script. So single, multi-level, and hierarchical inheritance should be fine for you to go ahead and start with the Selenium automation. Now, the other important concept is the keywords that we use to implement inheritance in Java. So there are 2 keywords that you would have noticed if you are familiar with Java. So extends and implements. Now, extends and implements both are used to achieve the inheritance in Java. And then if we talk about extends, so when, say for example, a class is inheriting another class or an interface is inheriting another interface or the properties of another interface, then we use the extends keyword. Now, if both types are same, so if you see that class and class, interface and interface, if both types are same, then you use the extends keyword. And if class inherits interface, then in that case you use implements keyword. So this is very basic about what are the types and the keywords extends and implements. So the next thing is basically what exactly is inheritance. So inheritance, as we can see in the real scenarios, say for example you inherit the properties of your parents, right? You inherit the look, the behavior, and many times a lot of similarities are being inherited from within you as a person from your parents. So in the Java world, this is also same. Basically, when a subclass or a child is inheriting the properties of the parent class, that is called as inheritance in Java. Now let us go to Eclipse and understand these different types of inheritance and how you can implement these inheritance in Java. So let me open Eclipse, and here I have already created a package inheritance, and I'll simply create a new class. So when we say inheritance, so there will be a base class or the parent class which will have the properties, and then there will be a child class or a subclass which will inherit the properties of the parent, right? So it's basically, now depending on what is the relationship between the parent and child will define different types of inheritance. So now I'll take an example of the vehicle class. So there are vehicles. So vehicle is a common class which could be of vehicle could be of type truck or bus or car or any other types of vehicle that are available out there. Now when we talk about the vehicle is the topmost class or the parent class of which the childs are the truck, car, bus, etc. Right? So we'll create a vehicle class, and then we'll say vehicle common, and here in the package I'll say com.rcv.package1 because I won't use the default package, so I'll specify the package and finish. Now, what are the common properties of the vehicle class? So basically, whenever we use the inheritance, the significance of using inheritance is to basically have the common properties of any class or any object in one particular class, and then use those common properties across other classes. So what this helps us in doing is that we don't duplicate a lot of code in the child classes. So anything common can be put into one common class. So for example, whatever common properties are there in all the vehicle types we'll put into one class, right? So in software terminology, whenever we are designing certain software, anything that is common across all the separate classes, for example, if we talk about the Selenium Webdriver code, whenever we launch the browser or close the browser, it is common across almost all of your test cases. So we put that into the common class, and then we inherit that class into our test cases. So that's the actual usage of inheritance in our test cases. So similarly, what we are doing in the vehicle common, we are putting the common properties of the vehicle. So what we can define, say for example, method public void, and we'll say start. So every vehicle will start, right? And then let me simply print out a statement. So started, and then all of the vehicle will stop. So if it is a vehicle, it will start and it will stop. This is very common feature of all the vehicle. It's independent of truck, car, bus, etc. Right? So these two methods can be part of my common class. Right? Now, if for example I am creating a truck, okay, so I'll have a truck class. Let me create a main method. So we'll have a main method in the truck class, and now because truck will start and stop, so rather than writing these methods, so is it a good practice if I write this in whole thing in the truck, and then again if I have to use bus or use other sorry, not here, let me, not in the main method, I can write it like that. So now if I create another class which is bus, I'll keep writing this code start and stop in each of these classes, which is not a good practice because we are duplicating our code again and again in different classes. So that's where we'll have the concept of inheritance and understand how inheritance can help us here. So in this particular class, now if this truck is basically child of the vehicle, so truck is a vehicle, so there is a relationship. Similarly, if we say car is a vehicle, bus is a vehicle, right? So there is a relationship, and now because there is a relationship, then truck is the child of the vehicle, right? So we can consider that, and then truck can inherit the properties that we have defined in the vehicle common. So instead of writing this in the truck class, we'll simply inherit these methods from the vehicle class. So to inherit these methods, what we simply need to do is, now because truck is a class, vehicle common is also a class, right? So we simply need to use the keyword extends and specify the name of the class that you are going to extend, or the parent class. In this case, parent class is vehicle common, right? And now if we want to access the methods and properties that are defined in vehicle common, I can simply create an object of this truck class, and then I can access the methods that we have defined in our common class, right? So if you see here, start and stop. So I can simply call the start and stop methods that we have defined in our vehicle common. So now I don't have to write that piece of code which has the start and stop functionality again in my truck class. Now if I run this, it will say started twice, because I think in the vehicle common I haven't changed it. Okay, so I stopped. Let me change it to stopped here and then run again. So here you'll see started and stopped got printed. So what type of inheritance is this? If we go to the slide again, this is single inheritance. And let me draw this on the board here. So for example, let me create a shape. So for example, this is class A, or this is a vehicle class. Put a text there, and here this is truck. Okay, and this is vehicle, right? And now truck is inheriting the properties of the vehicle. So what we'll do is there is a relationship. So there is a relationship like this. So truck is inheriting the properties of vehicle. This is your parent class and this is the child class. So any inheritance like this one-to-one relationship is single inheritance. All right. Now let's understand the second type, which is multi-level inheritance. So let's understand multi-level inheritance with an example. So now in this example, single inheritance, we had the base class and then we had the child class. Now say for example, truck is the child class of vehicle. Now truck or types of truck will have something, say for example, very specific to only trucks, right? So I can have a method public void load capacity. Say for example, just hypothetically I'm taking the example. So I'll simply say I'll print load capacity in that particular method, right? Let me format it. Now this load capacity is specific to the truck type of vehicle. Okay, now say for example, there is another class or a class which is a brand of truck. Okay, now that particular brand, say for example, I say it's Iveco, and let me create that class right here. So now this is a brand of truck. Okay, so this is a very specific. Now when a particular brand or particular class which is very specific is implementing, now this particular class can have a specific color to this particular truck or very specific features to that particular truck. Now when we inherit or all the other common features, I still can use from the parent classes, but anything specific I can implement within this particular class. Now in order to inherit, so for example, now I want to inherit, now this is very specific brand, so I can inherit the properties of my truck, because truck, this Iveco is a truck, right? It is a brand which is of truck type, and then truck internally, or truck is a vehicle. So now if I say, or if I simply create an object of this, say for example, now Iveco is equal to new Iveco, and if I say iv dot, I can't call any methods that are defined. So for example, I want to call the truck load, right, that we created here, load capacity. So what we have to do is we simply have to use extends keyword, which will inherit the properties of this truck class, and I'll be able to use all the properties that are defined there. So if I say extends truck, and now if I'll say iv dot, then I'll be able to access this load capacity, right? If I remove this and save it, you won't see any load capacity there, right? So that's what it is doing when we are inheriting the properties. So we'll say load capacity, right? And then I can also access the base properties of the very base. So if I save this file, I can also access the properties of the base class, which is the vehicle. So start and stop, right? These are the vehicle common. So I can still use these properties or the methods that are defined in the base class. Now if I run this, then you will see load capacity, started and stopped, all got printed. So what is the hierarchy here? So this is multi-level inheritance. If we go to our board here, so here we have the vehicle. Okay, let me show you again here. So let me create a shape again. So we had the parent class or the base class. Then we have the child, which is the truck. And then we have the specific brand, right? So we had the brand, which is Iveco. And now how the structure is basically this Iveco, which is specific brand of truck. So Iveco is a truck and truck is a vehicle, right? So now if you see the class here, the structure is basically you have the parent class, which is the vehicle class or the base class. Then you have the intermediate class, which is the truck. And then you have the lowermost or the derived class, which is basically the lowest class, which is the brand of the truck. Now this truck or Iveco is inheriting the properties of this truck class as well as the vehicle class. So now when we say this structure here, so this is called multi-level inheritance, right? So one class inheriting the properties of other class and then other class inheriting the properties of the base class. This is multi-level inheritance. Now what is the third kind of inheritance? So the third kind is hierarchical inheritance. Okay, now hierarchical inheritance is something, say for example, it's also very simple. Now we have a truck and type of truck. Now say for example, I have a class which is car. Okay, let me include main method there. Now I want to, because car, the common methods are start and stop, right? Car will start and car will stop as well because it's a vehicle. So if I want to inherit the common properties that are defined in my vehicle common, I can simply extend. So I can say extends vehicle common, right? And then I can create an object of this car. We'll say new car, and then I can access the methods that are available in my parent class of vehicle common. So I can say start and then I can say stop. Now if I run this class, you will see start and stop got printed because car is inheriting the common properties in the vehicle common. Now if I go to the whiteboard here, so now we have also created a class car. Let's see how the structure looks like. So we have this car as well now. So let me write car. And now car is inheriting the properties of vehicle, right? And then we have this Iveco, which is inheriting the property of truck, and truck is inheriting the properties of vehicle. So when we talk about the hierarchical inheritance, then multiple classes, so in this case car and truck, when they inherit one parent class, or it could be another class as well which is inheriting to the same parent class, then that is hierarchical inheritance. In hierarchical inheritance, this shouldn't be the case, right? So because in this case Iveco, which is specific truck, is inheriting truck and truck is inheriting vehicle, so we have to remove this so that this becomes hierarchical inheritance. So one class vehicle is the base class or the parent class, and then child classes, multiple child classes are inheriting that particular base class. So we have to remove this inheritance in this case. So we can simply, I can say this is not extending any, or this particular class we don't even have it, say for example, or I'll remove it. Let me delete it. Okay, so now we just have two child classes, car and truck, which are inheriting the properties of vehicle common. So this is the scenario which is the hierarchical inheritance, right? So to summarize, we have understood what all types of inheritance are there in Java. So single inheritance, when we talk about single inheritance, then parent class and the child class. So child class inherits the properties of the parent class. If that's the scenario, that's single inheritance. Then you have multi-level inheritance. When we say multi-level inheritance, then you have the base class, parent class, then you have child class, and again subchild. So when there are multiple levels, so subchild is referring to the parent and the parent is referring to their parents, then that is multi-level inheritance. When we say hierarchical inheritance, then we have a base class and then multiple subclasses referring to that base classes, right? So in this case, say for example, I have 4 classes, A, B, C and D, and they all are referring to parent class. This is known as hierarchical inheritance. So that's all about the inheritance in Java. Hope you have understood the details. I've tried to keep it really simple so that even if you don't have any background in the programming or Java, you are able to grasp it. So that's all for this tutorial. Hope you like it. Please do share and subscribe, and thank you for watching.